Before we start, let me share my screen. Everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So today we will be taking session on stored procedure and how we are using stored procedure in AS400. So so agenda for today will be like having a quick introduction on stored procedure. Then there are some types of stored procedure, and if we are going to declare or create a store procedure and what attributes are required to create, that we will discuss upon, and we will be having a demo on creation of basic stored procedures. Okay, so we'll start with yeah, uh, Amit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, have you started recording?
Yeah, it is started.
Sorry. Thank you. Okay, so from introduction part, like stored procedure, by definition, we can call it like a pre-compiled program which can execute the SQL stored procedures, sorry, SQL statements. And whenever we invoke this stored procedure, that all those set of SQL statements will be executed. So this is the stored procedure, and based on requirement, we will be deciding like whether to use stored procedure or creating a view. So stored procedure will be created whenever we need first statement, like uh, we want to execute multiple remote SQL statements, and if we need to access a table from a dynamic SQL statement, like some of the times we do have some requirement like from front end system, those who are not very eager to know what the database detail is, like that table, what are the fields, they are just happy with the outcome of the data. So in that case we will be using stored procedure. So and especially most of the times whenever data is on DB2 system and it is getting accessed from front end, it may be .NET or Java. In all those conditions we are using stored procedures. So it will give us flexibility to have access to host variables which are residing into DB DB2. These host variables are used to store values between two different call, and also we could have the better performance for SQL statement, because the execution means all the execution takes place on SQL DB side, SQL or our IBM side. So on the our main application, there will be no any much performance issue. So all keeping all those things in mind, we will be designing stored procedures. Okay. So is there any questions regarding stored procedure? Okay, I will take silence as an there is no questions. I will move ahead. So next part is for having a stored procedure. There are two types of stored procedure which are getting used generally on IBM side. One is native SQL procedures, and second one will be external stored procedures. The native SQL stored procedures are like in SQL statement itself or SQL queries itself, we are embedding our PL/SQL statements. Means all stored procedure is written into SQL only. And another type of stored procedure is external stored procedure, which is having like a procedure body is written into let's say external program, which is RPG, can be C, C++ or Java. It can be anything. And this second type of procedure is mainly used if like existing RPG program is ready and we need to access all those parameters or the functionality what RPG program is doing. The same is required on front end system. In that case, we are converting all those RPG program to stored procedures. Okay. So on this one, these are the two things. So today we will be having some view on native SQL stored procedure, and for external stored procedure and its demo, it might be having the separate session will be arranged, and we'll see in that one. So today we'll be starting with the basics one. So whenever we decided to create a stored procedure, and there is one command which we rigorously used. It is like create or replace procedures. It's like replace keyword is not mandatory as such, but in case of we need to update the existing stored procedure, we are using this syntax. So while preparing a stored procedure, it can be having like a procedure which is not having any parameters in list, or it is having input output both parameters, or it is just returning the result sets. Okay. As per our requirement, we will be designing that stored procedure. So here I have given the normal syntax which is maximally used in our day-to-day life of creating stored procedures. So the syntax is like create or replace procedure, which is keyword, and inside that one we will be giving a procedure name. Then inside bracket, if there we don't need to provide any input parameter or output parameter, it can be having only opening closing braces, or there will be no any braces, no any opening closing bracket. So here, as I've given, like for example, if you want to add any input parameter, you need to follow it by in operator, and output will be out operator. And we may have some coding standards followed, like in hyphen to input parameter and out hyphen to output parameter, so that inside our program or inside any our SQL script, we can easily find out which is input and output parameter. Then next keyword we are using is dynamic result sets. Sorry, dynamic result sets one. This parameter is required whenever we need to return any result set to our calling program. Is there anyone who doesn't know result set?
Yogesh sir, it will
Yeah.
be great if we can explain the what result sets really mean.
Okay. Okay, I will explain that one. The result set is like whenever we need to return any any row of a table or a particular structure, it can be having result sets. Just like if you are having one employee master table and you want to retrieve a particular employee's all detail. So we will be preparing result set and return it that
Okay,
to our.
and that numeric one stands for one result set, means one record kind of.
Yes, it is a numeric one. If you are having two result sets, you need to prepare two result sets and return it
Okay,
to our calling program.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Manish, just to add to that, result sets one is one type of result set. So one type of record column structure.
Okay, sir.
R- Yeah, result set two means the second result set would be having a different structure.
Yeah.
Okay,
In that case, like a employee master and department master. These two different result sets we will be returning. Okay. Then the next line will be language, the stored procedure in which that particular procedure is written. Here I have given SQL, means this procedure is written in SQL. If we are using in RPGLE, it will be having language RPGLE. The next parameter is specific and system name. So most of the time our SQL name and system name are different, since because on IBM the specific name is limited to 10 characters only, which will be an object name, and procedure name it can be having anything. We can use long uh, described procedure name as well. So it's basically this one, procedure name. It can be having length of anything, but for specific name, it will be having maximum 10 characters length. And next is not deterministic. Deterministic, this particular keyword is used when SQL will decide if same type of input parameter is given. Instead of making all combination again, it will be return the same result set which are calculated previously. So it is better to have not deterministic if we are having the continuously changing record in our system. So it is like that. The next parameter is reads SQL data, and this is just because like in our SQL procedure, if we are what type of operation on SQL data or table we are doing. If we are only reading SQL data and returning back to the caller, then it will be reads. If we are modifying any particular data, then we will be using modifies SQL data, right? So, and next two part are generally used if we are using second type of stored procedure, which is external stored procedure. Means our language is SQL RPGLE, so that to assign RPGLE program to stored procedure, here external name library dot customer info, this kind of information we will be providing. And next time if it is RPG program, what will be the style of that parameter list? These are the stuffs which are executed, and this set option is basically what whenever we are using in SQL RPGLE statements, these are type of options we are using. Here mainly user profile star owner is like we are uh, inheriting all the callers authorization to our procedure level. So it is better to have all the times like user profile as an star owner whenever we are executing SQL stored procedures. Okay, so then if we are creating a stored procedure, there are four ways to create. One is first one is directly creating from SQL statements. Second one is from run SQL statement. I will give a demo on that. Third one, we can have navigator open and run execute through that. And the last one is only some of the projects you might be having, like data studio or through RDA. The state of using is at least similar one, just to execute all those commands. The type will be different. Okay. Is there any question on this create procedure?
Sir, one question, like you said that parameter style general. So there are different other keywords also, like
it means parameter type. If you are you want any parameter which is not passed as an by default, it should be null. That also you can assign over here. This is like by default, whatever the values are, it will be taking that. Right?
Okay. Sir, I have one more question.
Yeah.
What could you just repeat that? What is the meaning of that specific and procedure system name?
Okay. Specific is like in IBM I said like if procedure name. Let's say procedure name, we are having a department name, right? Which is absolutely greater than 10. And the specific is the word where the object of that stored procedure, which is getting stored into our library. That object name will be this specific name. I will show in coming demo.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one query.
Yeah.
So suppose there are result sets defined like dynamic result sets one. So since I have a confusion about out parameter and dynamic result sets one. So
No,
suppose
both are different one.
okay. So if there is some out value coming out and one dynamic result set is also prepared. So how that dynamic result set is fetched or used from the place where this procedure is getting called?
After get that procedure is getting called, there is one another like result set, get result set command. From that we can retrieve result sets. And output is like from calling statement only, we will be having one more parameter. In that one parameter only, we are getting that result.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So next one in demo. We have like how to create stored procedures, then how to check the created stored procedure, whether it is created or not, and what are the parameters of that one, and then how to call that stored procedure, and how to check output parameter from STR-SQL. Okay, so to have a demo, I will stop this PPT and start. Okay, to create one demo, we will be creating one table which is having employee info. So I have created one demo table which is having employee number, name, then employee department, salary, and so on. Here I have given primary key is employee number, and have added 6 record by using insert into statements. So to execute this, I will just execute. So whenever we are executing any SQL bunch or SQL script, we are using run SQL statement. Here we are providing the statement like DDS, the source physical file where our source is present, then library, and employee info. So before running that, we need to take one more precaution. Like by default, our current library is set as an QGPL. If we want that object to be created in specific library, we need to use current, change current library. As if now I am using my developers library, and after that I will be executing run SQL statement. So after executing this one, so I will be able to see what records we are using. So here our table is created. Okay, so we'll be moving ahead. The first type of creating stored procedure is like directly from strSQL. We can able to create that stored procedure. So to create that stored procedure in this way, I will be going to strSQL and directly put pasting that code to here. So from this one, what will be there? Create or replace procedure. Procedure name is example 0. Then it is having two parameters. First language we are using as an SQL, and it is modifying the SQL data. So whenever I will call this stored procedure, it will update the salary of whatever the employee number into a rate whatever we have passed. Okay, so I will quickly create this stored procedure. That stored procedure is created. So we can check, select. Once after this stored procedure is created, we can check it into our system table as an sys. Sorry. It will be having all the stored procedure created on the system. To see our stored procedure, we can check into specific schema only. I will be using my library name over here. So here there is one stored procedure created, this first one, whose name is example 0. So if you can see here, external name of that stored procedure will be example 0. And if we want to call that stored procedure, we can use this statement. I will give qualified one, like my object name, sorry, my library name, and this one. Before we start, we can see whatever the data is in the file. Okay, so to check, we'll have a screenshot of this one. We are passing the employee number as in 2, and we'll be multiplying it by 2. So after executing this stored procedure, its result will be doubled. All this stored procedure, I will be using this one. Executed, call statement completed. So after execution is completed, we'll see the data is doubled. Means previously it was 1200. So it is multiplied by 2. Okay. This is first type of creation of stored procedure. Second type will be from run SQL STM. So same thing. I have prepared one SQL script for that. This first one. It is having same code, but this we will be executing with run SQL STM. So for this one, what I will do, I will paste it over here, example 1. And if we want to debug that one, we can add this debug view as an star source. Here we have created with that. If we want to see that stored procedure, here example 3 we have created. Example 1 we have created. Okay. And here if you can see the SQL body is in SQL, since we are creating all these stored procedure is in SQL statements only. Same way, if we want to call this one, let's say this time we will take employee number as an 1. We'll multiply it by 3. So 3 times it will be executed. After result it will be.
So we need to change the stored position in example 0, 2, 0, 1 or 3 what we have created now.
Yeah, in our statement only, first line is create or replace. You mean to say a name of the stored procedure you want to change?
No. I was telling like, can you please come on the screen where you call that program, the stored procedure? Yeah, so here you used call your library dot example 0. So,
yeah.
So
Here
we have to create the new one. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
one.
Sorry.
Yes. Okay, that's my mistake. Okay, so from example 1 we will be executing. So I think this time we will take the new one, like 800, fourth one. So this is complete. So 800 is changed to 2400. Anything we have written in code written into that SQL stored procedure, it will be executed. And one more thing, if we want to check what parameters are there for that particular stored procedure, there is one sysparams. From this one, how many parameters are there for that particular stored procedure, we can check it. As if now our specific name is let's say example 1. So for our example was stored procedure is having 2 parameters. First one is and both are input parameters. Parameter name is this one. From this table we can see in what type of parameters it is having and how it is retrieving those. Okay. Yeah. So we will be moving ahead. Our next example is for having input output both type of parameters. So I have written that one too. Let's say there is an example wherein we are passing department name and we need to have a count of number of employees in that department and total salary of that employees. So here what I did, like here I don't want to change anything into SQL data. So I have written reads and language is SQL. So input parameter is department name and output parameters. There are two output parameters. One is number of employee and second one is total department salary. So for this one, I need to have two variables declared, total department salary and this one. I have executed this by using select count star and some operations functions and set it for returning set. Okay. So these are the output variables we have used, and uh, after calculation through our statements, we are assigning that values to set, of course. So ultimately, after executing this stored procedure, we will be getting this final output to output parameters. Okay. So now question is, as if now what we were creating, we are just calling our statements and assigning our constant values to that whenever input parameters are there. So inside, if we need to call that with output parameters, there are two types where we can check this one. First can be having one create one SQL program which is handling this one. We execute these small programs, we can write it down. This program will do just thing like passing value to input parameter and getting two different values from that call statement. So in this one we will be having we will be calling this example 2 and passing this parameter, and the result of the parameter will be in this these two variables. So for that we will be doing creating first our SQL statement. We'll be creating a SQL procedure. We have created a SQL procedure. If you want to see there will be three parameters. One is input parameter and two parameters as an output one. And after this one, we may need to create SQL program object. I will put this into library list. So to see value, we will be putting this into debug. SQL exam1 using Shift F10. We will be going into SQL statement where we are executing that. Initially, the value will be 0 or null. Once after this is created, the count is updated with 3 and employee salary is also updated, whatever the value inside. Once after coming back to calling program, at this position it will not be having values. Once after completion of whenever cursor comes to INLR, so here you can see the values whichever got calculated. Okay, understood. Is there any questions, queries in this one? Okay, I will take silence as a no. So we'll be moving ahead to check the third type of execution, means from str SQL only. If we want to execute that parameter, input output parameter stored procedure, how we can check. So inside our stored procedure, there is one thing like global variable that we can use to have such kind of calculation and to store the value of that. To create a global variable, the syntax is like create or replace variable. Here I will give name as department name. Here I have initialize it with RPG. So this one variable I have created. Similarly, output variable also I will be creating. Since as if now we haven't have any count or anything over there, so it is designed to have an 0 value. Once after creation of this one, there will be obvious like how we can check the values of that one. So IBMI is having a separate table which is having taking account of all these global variable sys IBM sys dummy one. Inside that you can see all the declared variables. So if I execute this query, here input parameter name is RPG, output will be 0 since it is not calculated over there. So for this one, we will be calling the same stored procedure and from STRSQL only. So I will be calling this one. This is our stored procedure name example2, which is taking values as an input as a department name and will be retrieving employee count and total salary, which we have just checked by using SQL RPGLE program. So after calling this one, the call statement completed. So if we check these global variables value, it is having updated like there are 3 employees and total salary was 6 set 30. If you want to check, we can check it by sorry. Here RPG is having 333. This 3. If addition of these 3 will be same thing. Okay. So to check the global variable, yes, we can use sys IBM sysdummy this table to check global variables value after uh, calling this stored procedure. Okay, these are all about stored procedure. So now I'm opening the question queries session. If anybody is having any questions, queries, you can ask over here. Okay. So no questions. Okay. That case, I think we are completed for today, and there will be a next session which will be having the next advanced part of the stored procedure, and invite will be soon there in your mailboxes.
Thank you, sir, for a very good
Yeah.
session. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
really good session,
Thank
Yogesh.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Yogesh.
Thank you, everyone.